Is it? Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers More. I'm trying a new look, Jimmy. You like it?
Oh yeah,
This is my new thing.
very
I'm gonna do.
Devo.
Is it Devo?
Kind of. I
Oh.
mean, it's got the yellow, it's got the sunglasses,
there's
it's
a
got the
little
thing
more.
stuck on your head.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, more than one thing actually.
yeah. I've got multiple things on my head now.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm well protected
Uh-huh.
in case there's a starburst or something. Jimmy Aiken. I didn't say your full name. I just said
That's
Jimmy.
okay.
but
Thank
I
you,
think-
Cy Kellett.
You're welcome, Jimmy Aiken. You had something you wanted to start with today.
Yeah. So this year is 2017, and that means that it's the 50th anniversary. Back in 50 taken away from 2017 is 1967, and so it's the 50th anniversary of the album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Oh yeah.
Right, yeah, which is coming up. The anniversary of its release is coming up on June 1st. But if you flash forward 10 years from that, so 1977,
Yeah.
it's the 40th anniversary on May 25th of something entirely different. And that leads us to a piece of music that the ever competent Nick Gillespie,
What? You guys have something planned?
Nick Chamberlain, just kidding, is gonna play for us right now.
Nice. I wore the glasses on the right day.
It was many years ago today, in a galaxy so far away. It's a period of civil war. They don't want the Empire anymore. The rebels made a daring move.
Nice.
They got some data in their hands. Princess Leia's stolen Death Star plans.
I'm so proud of you.
Hang
Jimmy.
on.
Oh, they put that in there.
Here we go. Their Princess Leia's stolen Death Star plans. She's got them and it's time to go.
Nice.
Princess Leia's stolen Death Star plans. The Empire doesn't even know. Sing it with me.
Oh,
Princess Leia's stolen, Princess Leia's stolen, Princess Leia's stolen Death Star plans. There we go. How about that?
you stunned me with that, Jimmy. I
That
can't.
was the
Nick,
idea.
nice job keeping that a secret. I had no
Yeah.
idea. That's so. I forgot that
It's Star Wars Day.
Happy Star Wars
right,
Day
so
to you.
may,
Yes.
May the 4th be with you.
And with your spirit.
And
Wait.
this is something that's just come out. There's a band. It's two guys, actually. They do comedy parody music. They're called the Palette Swap Ninjas. And they have done a re-record of the entire album of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band
All Star
so
Wars?
that it now fits the plot of Star Wars A New Hope.
Oh my
And they work there
gosh.
as you work your way through the album, they work their way through the movie. And if you go to YouTube, now not only can you download the MP3s and listen to them, they're free, because they're parody
Yeah.
stuff, so they're copyright free in their parody. But they, if you go to YouTube, they have videos where they've re-edited the movie with the new soundtrack. So it's like a comedy Star Wars A New Hope done as a rock opera. And it's
Jimmy Aiken
totally-
Heaven, in other words.
Totally awesome.
That is so cool.
Just out in time for Star Wars Day, and it's already got like 500,000 hits on the first video.
Nice. I liked your performance too.
Thank you.
I don't have that. I'm not bold like that when I'm completely sober. So
Oh.
I'm very.
Well,
yeah,
that's
you just
fixable,
to not be sober. you
Well,
mean.
one way or another.
Yeah.
It's fixable.
yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, so I would just
Very
wanted to share
nice.
that with you in honor of
Thanks.
Star Wars Day.
That was
today.
really fun. That was a
Yeah.
really fun way to start. I feel like I got nothing to match up with that.
Well,
But,
we have important business to do today because
It's pledge drive.
It's pledge drive, and apropos of that, we've been thinking about, and we talked about this a little yesterday, about ways to fundraise here on Catholic Answers More, because this is a new little show that we've added, whether it's a pre-show or a post-show. It's something we've added specially for the people who are watching us online, whether that's at Facebook or YouTube or Periscope. This is just some extra, some more that we're doing for you. And so we were thinking, it's a bit of a looser, more whimsical show where we can do things like sing Star Wars parody music, in addition to answering people's faith questions. And so we were thinking, well, sometimes people who are fundraising in a little bit looser environment will offer to do some crazy stunt if they meet their fundraising goal.
Right.
And so we were thinking what we could do, and we have a number of suggestions and would love to get suggestions from viewers for future drives. But for this drive, what we decided to do is we have an umeboshi challenge. Now, for people who may not be aware, umeboshi are a kind of plum from Japan, and we have some picture or some pictures of them that we'll be putting up. Basically, they're pickled and they are packed in salt, and they're very salty, but they also have the reputation.
It's up there, Jimmy.
Awesome.
There you go.
The reputation of being the most sour plum in the world. And there are a bunch of challenges on YouTube of people eating umeboshi and giving their reaction. And so we decided that if we meet a particular fundraising goal, you and I
And Tim
Staples, who decided to get on this as well, we will all three eat umeboshi plums and describe our experience in a future episode of Catholic Answers More.
Yep.
So these are really, really, really tart. I was showing you video of some folks eating umeboshi earlier, and you were impressed by their experience.
I'm impressed. I don't know. I'm terrified since I had agreed to do it.
But anyway, so we were discussing it, and we thought if we can raise $250 from, and that's not a lot, but if we can raise $250 from Catholic Answers More, then we'll all three eat umeboshi and talk about it.
Yep.
And hopefully it'll be an interesting and educational and possibly even comedic experience. Because
So how would
umeboshi
we
is
know
an
it's
extreme taste.
so it's $250 today, basically.
Basically,
And
yeah.
so how would we know? Like, people would call the number,
Well,
make a donation.
They could, but what we'd ask them to do is use CatholicAnswersRadio.com to make a donation.
okay.
And there's an additional information field there. And if you don't have to spell umeboshi. If you just put Catholic Answers More, or just the word more, M-O-R-E,
Then we'll know.
in the information blank, in the additional information blank, we'll know that it's for that. And so we'll know that people are responding to Catholic Answers More, that they see the value in it, and that they'd like to see us
Eat the Kobayashi maru.
Sourest,
that-
the
is it the Kobayashi maru?
Kobayashi maru fruit, the unwin plum, unwinnable plum.
No, what's it really called? It's called like a kurosawa or something like that. Is it-
Umeboshi.
saying all the
uma-
Japanese
yeah.
words I know.
Domo arigato.
Mr. Roboto.
There
I don't
you
think
go.
Mr. Roboto is Japanese, though.
No, it's not. It's English. But ume is actually the name of the plum, and then boshe means dried.
Oh,
So
it's a dried ume.
dried ume.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, by all means, go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com, make your donation, put the word more in the blank, and hopefully before long, Cy and Tim and I will all three be eating umeboshi.
Oh,
and we have
What? What's here?
President of Catholic Answers, Chris Check,
I'll
has
raise the
just come
glasses
into
for
the
you.
studio.
No, there's nothing to drink here. So.
No, I
Not
mean
yet.
these glasses. Thank you.
Those glasses.
You're special. You get food delivered to you right
I know.
here by the president.
By,
I'm gonna, I know, Jim.
I'm
you're,
fasting,
You're being,
so
yeah,
thank
sorry,
you.
I'm sorry to.
oh, I
not
couldn't.
guilty.
No
I
biggie.
couldn't eat in front of. Yeah, I probably can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I probably can.
It doesn't matter.
I'm gonna jump on that at the very beginning.
Okay.
At the very beginning of the show. All right.
Okay.
Chris Check, our president, delivering food. Wow.
Yeah.
That was-
Actually, I've been surprised with intermittent fasting. There's almost no hunger. I mean, it's really been amazing.
Really?
Yeah. It's because once your body's burning fat, it has a food source. It doesn't need any new food.
One time I hit my head really hard and I knocked myself out, and I wasn't hungry. And
Oh,
That's the
interesting.
only time in my entire life.
That you haven't been. Otherwise, it's constant hunger.
Constant hunger the whole
Okay.
time. Hi, Chris.
The
Check.
How did you-
insatiable man.
How did you knock yourself out?
Oh, actually, this is well, this is a thing about me.
Is that a venial sin?
I've actually been knocked out quite a few times. I've had pretty serious head trauma because I maybe another time I'll talk about why, but I was let's just say I had no focus as a child, and I would find myself falling off of things or slamming into things or running in front of things.
How's
were
that
moving.
different from now, by the way?
It's not that much different. It doesn't really go away. It's kind of hard, but I broke bones all the time when I was a kid, and people, and to the point where one time, the doctor asked me, how did you break your arm? And my mother started to answer, and he said, I didn't ask you, I asked him. And she was like, what? It was like, you've been in here so many times with broken bones with this kid. He just wanted to make sure. And I was like, she did it. No, I didn't really say that. But
Alas, you can't joke about that stuff anymore.
No, I guess not. But I was a very clumsy child. Broke my first bone. You will not believe this. At 10 and a half months old.
Wow, you were precocious.
I was a precocious child. Broke my leg at 10 and a half months old. Yeah.
Our second boy, Alexander, broke his femur at 18 months.
Did he really?
Yeah. Yeah. He was jumping. He and Nicholas were jumping off of our bed onto some pillows they put on the floor. This is awful. I don't know if I should tell this story. And anyway, his leg got caught between the footboard and the mattress. And
oh no! Oh, that's the kind of thing I would do.
And he healed, in about a month. When you're 18 months old,
Yeah.
you heal up pretty quick.
Right.
I had a bad bed experience as well once. I was sleeping on a bunk bed. I slept on the top. My little brother slept on the bottom. And we had this oak chest of drawers next to the bed. I was about 6 years old. I rolled off the bed. My face hit the chest of drawers.
This is terrible fundraising
Bent
right now.
up one of my teeth through my lip.
Oh, come on!
Nope. So I actually have a scar here that my mustache hides.
Oh, really?
And this is why we need a dental plan at Catholic Cancer.
Yeah. All right, I got scars all over.
But we should mention the fundraising. So,
Absolutely.
Are you here to talk about that?
I am indeed, but I was kind of going to hope to save that for when we actually begin the show.
Oh, we can do
But I
that.
can get started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All you people watching Facebook and
YouTube and Periscope.
YouTube and Periscope. This is something that, as you know, we began about in February, right?
Was it February
The
or March?
broadcasting.
Yeah,
of the show, streaming.
the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
And we're able to do it because of your generosity. That is the reason we're able to do it. And on those three streaming platforms, I don't know what the average is. We're about 10 or 15,000 views a day, something like that.
It's substantial. I don't know that we have exact numbers at this point.
Yeah. So we're reaching more and more on those platforms, and we're able to do it because you all support us. So a special invitation to those of you who are watching us now on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, right? And like to see the video. And because of it, we've been able to do the pre-show and the post-show and the in-between.
Do you want to eat a plum with us? We're going to eat
I was going to say, we've got
Kobayashi Maru plums.
the Umeboshi challenge that Cy and Tim and I, if we raise $250 from fundraising for Catholic Answers More, then the three of us are going to eat the sourest plum in the world
Okay,
on
so that's
camera
it.
and describe our experience.
That's at the end.
We'll probably
not
do it next
today.
week.
It'll be on a future
Oh, I'm in.
show.
Sure.
Okay,
Really?
Awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Look at
so
how brave he
the
is.
four of
It
us.
took me days to be convinced of this.
And we'll notice he hasn't seen the video of other people eating them.
No, and I don't think I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
Actually, that would be foolish.
But it's an intense experience.
So, my friends, if you're watching us now live on video, it's not too early to call in, right?
No.
No,
Our customer service ladies, in fact, the entire building,
Yeah.
the fullness of the staff of Catholic Answers is answering phones today. And when I leave the studio here, I will be answering phones at my desk.
You answered a bunch yesterday.
I did. I took about 20 calls yesterday. I talked to a magnificent woman from the great state of Texas. I'm afraid that I
was she surprised to be talking to the president of Catholic Answers when she called her?
I think horrified is.
I don't believe that.
Yeah. Well, no, but Erica took a picture. Erica Santana, who runs our events department, took a picture of me taking down someone's pledge, and of course I've got the Lone Star flag behind my desk there, and someone on Instagram said, "Is that the Polish flag?" I'm not.
Wait, I gotta look
the
that up.
Liberian flag.
And I have to look up what the Polish flag
I'm
looks
gonna
like.
look it up
I'm
right
a little
now.
embarrassed that I don't know. I'm sorry.
Look up
you Poles who
Liberia.
are
It's the same as the Texas
watching.
flag.
But
Really?
it-
Yeah.
All right, well, first I'm looking up the Polish flag.
Oh, but the fields are
Polish,
reversed.
The Polish
right?
flag
No?
is just
They're identical.
It's just white on top and red on the bottom.
So was that
Or-
was that an attempt at humor?
Maybe.
Is that the Polish flag?
Or maybe
Maybe
just
they
a
thought- they-
sincere inquiry.
I don't know. Anyway, it's the Lone Star, the Texican flag.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the Liberian flag. Does that look just like Texas?
Oh
No, that's not the flag
that's
of
not
Liberia.
Texas. There's another one. Then I'm mistaken. It's not Liberia. It's something else that's just like Texas.
So actually, we had a lot of calls from Texas. I had calls from Texas, all over the Midwest, the East Coast, California. It's such a joy when people come on, when you get to talk to supporters, to hear them testify over and over about how this program has changed their lives.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So the number to call is 888-291-8000. You can also go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. And if you're watching right now, or even if you're watching time delayed, if you go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com and put the word MORE in the additional information field, we'll count your donation towards the $250 goal so that Cy and Tim Staples and I and Chris will eat
And Selena.
if
I'm
she
just
wants.
throwing- no, not if she
We'll-
wast. I'm just
we'll-
throwing Selena
we'll-
in there.
We'll eat.
Wait, she's actually out of the- she's out of the office.
sourest plum on. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're stepping on my pitch.
Oh, I'm
now.
sorry.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm new to radio.
We will eat umeboshi, the sourest plum in the world. But put the word MORE in the additional information field at CatholicAnswersRadio.com.
And how much time do we have? Do we have to go to silent yet? So we'll eat the plums while watching Kurosawa movies and flying in the Kobayashi Maru.
We could do that.
You could.
Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
Hello and welcome to this Thursday edition of Catholic Answers Live. It's open forum all day today, and we have our very good friend and the senior apologist here at Catholic Answers, Jimmy Akin, to take your questions both hours today.
Hey, thank you, Cy Kellett, radio host.
Jimmy Akin, apologist. I'm very glad that you're here. Open forum, of course, means that pretty much with Jimmy you can ask him anything. I don't. If you asked about mechanics, he'd probably answer you. But generally, we try to stick to things having to do with the life, the faith, the history of the Catholic Church, or any religious question you've got, or moral question.
In the pre-show on YouTube, someone was saying in the comments stream that they should ask Jimmy about midichlorians.
Oh, I actually want to hear about it.
Midichlorians are bad.
Okay, that's enough on midichlorians then. If you want to get in the queue, it is already filling up. 888-318-7884 is the number. I'll say it one more time because we're going to give out another number for part of the show today. 888-318-7884. Get in that queue, and we will get to your question as soon as we can. We are joined in studio today by Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers. Hi, Chris.
Gentlemen, thanks for letting me in here. I just wanted to jump in at the very beginning of the show and say the most heartfelt thank you from the absolute bottom of my heart and from the bottoms of the hearts of all the staff here at Catholic Answers for everyone who has so generously responded to our pledge drive, which we are about to enter the last day of.
We have entered.
We're in it now.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So I am so grateful to all of you, and I also want to extend a big thank you to the staff here at Catholic Answers. Yesterday, we opened up the 1-800 number to the entire building. So everyone, whether they work in publishing or video or back in shipping and receiving, everyone in the building has been answering calls on this pledge drive. And we're going to do that today. And in fact, I'm going to do that today. I did it yesterday. I had a number of just magnificent conversations with fans of the show. It's heartening to hear how this show has changed people's lives. So thanks to everyone in the building as well who's answering phone calls. If you called on Tuesday and you were not able, or yesterday even, and you were not able to get in, please call today, 888-291-8000, 888-291-8000, and generously support this magnificent radio program. Who's going to make the announcement?
I think you are, Chris.
Oh,
No?
I've been talking for a while.
Well, I'll do it then.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
So we had a very generous donor during the drive. This was not arranged beforehand, but during the drive, a very generous donor has put up a matching challenge of $30,000. So that's upping the game today. Previous 2 days, we had matching challenges of $20,000. Now the pressure's really on. Now it's the last day. We have only these 2 hours, and really it's less than 2 hours because we're going to answer apologetic questions, but we have less than 2 hours to meet that $30,000 challenge. The donor has put up $30,000 and is challenging everyone to have their donations matched up to that amount. So we really need to hear from you today. It's our biggest challenge yet of this drive. It's one of our biggest challenges ever, frankly, and it's also the last day of the drive that we get to talk about it on the air. So this is it. We've got less than 2 hours. We need to get to work. Please give us a call. The number is 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000, or you can go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. We want to make it as easy as possible for you to call in and support the work of Catholic Answers and Catholic Answers Live. To do that, we've, as Chris said, opened up, we rejiggered our phone system so that now everyone in the building can take your call and make it as easy as possible for you to get through. If you had trouble on previous days, now is the time to call. Do it while you're thinking about it. The number is 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000, and someone, whether they're from customer service or whether they're from another department, maybe even
The
Chris
Office
himself,
of the President.
will be personally there to take your donation. And thank you so much in advance. We've really got to get started on this because, like I said, it's our biggest challenge, and it's the last day. We have less than 2 hours. So call us now, 888-291-8000, and thank you so much for your generosity.
Before I let you gentlemen get to work, I want to extend an invitation to two types of people. So listen to see if you fall in this category. The first category is those who have listened to this show for a long time, or maybe even just a couple of weeks and have fallen in love with it already and are benefiting of it. It's helping you in your knowledge of the faith. It's helping you in your spiritual life. It's bringing you closer to our Lord, and you can sense that it is doing this, but you have not made a gift to support Catholic Answers Live. There are so many more people who listen to this show than support it. So you are getting the benefit of a program that a small group of the listeners are supporting. We say something like 13 or 14 supporters per tower of all the 300 and almost 400 stations that the show appears on. But let's get that up to 15. Let's get it up to 16. If you have never made a gift of any size, please begin that support of this show that I know because I know Jimmy, I know Tim, I know Cy, I know Carlo, I know Trent, I know all of our guests. These men and women, the guests that we have on the show, are the best at what they do. And years and years and years of work of getting good at this to produce this magnificent program. If you're benefiting from it and you haven't made a gift, what is it worth to you? Please call and make a gift and help us meet this pledge. And then the second group I want to invite, if it's possible for you to make a significant gift of 4 or 5, possibly even 6-figure gift, and you think, okay, well, I'm not confident enough in the work of Catholic Answers. I don't know enough about them, what they do. Call on the phone and just say, I'd like to get a phone call from Chris Check. I'd like him to give me a call. I'd like to hear about the strategic vision of the operation. I'd like to hear about how they spend their money. I'd like to look at their books. We're a transparent organization. I have total confidence in this staff. I have a magnificent staff here. We're frugal. We are very careful with your donations. So if you're thinking about a large gift and there's some more information that you want, I'm happy to call you and I'll explain and answer any questions you want. So if you've never given, if you're looking at a large gift, please, my special invitation to you, 888-291-8000, 888-291-8000, or CatholicAnswersRadio.com. Gentlemen, I am going to take my post behind my phone and look forward. And I look forward to talking to you. Call me. I can't wait. 20 of you or 30 of you are going to get through to me.
Awesome.
All right. God
Thanks,
bless,
Chris.
gentlemen.
Thanks very much. 888-291-8000 is that number. We have a $30,000 matching challenge today, which it's just been an extraordinary few days. I mean, every day, it's really been extraordinary, and I feel it in the building. I mean, just going around, people are fired up. And let's get to some calls, Jimmy. How's that?
Let's do.
Oh, okay. Anita in Brandenburg, Kentucky, listening on Holy Family Radio. You are on with Jimmy Akin. What's your question?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My question is, I have been doing a lot of reading, and I've noticed there have been, over the years and even recently, quite a few women that have received the stigmata, which are the markings of Jesus during his passion.
Right.
Now, my question is, why I know that they are holy women, but why women? You would think it would be more of a man's.
Yeah, so it's not, this is one of those things where it seems our Lord's will has been to distribute this charism or this mystical phenomenon to both sexes. Now, originally, the first person we have who, in the historical record, who clearly had the stigmata is St. Francis of Assisi. Now, some people have argued that St. Paul did, because in one of his epistles he says, I bear on my body the marks of Christ. But read in context, it's much more probable that he's referring to scars that he had as a result of beatings he received for his ministry in the service of Christ, that he wasn't talking about stigmata. The first person to really have stigmata that we're aware of is St. Francis of Assisi. At least that's my memory. So since St. Francis of Assisi was male, we have evidence there that it was our Lord's will to distribute this mystical phenomenon to men, and in subsequent ages it's also been distributed to women. As far as, is there a preponderance between one sex or another, I'm unaware of that. I don't have any data on that. But I would say that this is a phenomenon that God allows to manifest in the case of certain people, typically spiritual people, although he can give his graces to anybody, even if they're not spiritual. And it seems to happen in particular among people who are consecrated in some way, either by virtue of holy orders or by virtue of being in a religious order. That's where this seems to cluster, though, as again, God can give his grace anywhere and allow it to manifest in anyone's life. So I would say that even though some things God has chosen to focus on one gender rather than another, in this case, the historical evidence suggests that he wanted to share this with both genders. And in a way, that's just a reflection of the fact that, of something else that he said, which is we all need to bear our cross, and we all can use the sufferings of our lives to bring good into the world the way he did, by associating our sufferings with his. And that's something that's always been accessible to both men and women, and perhaps the reception of stigmata is just an example of that fact.
Thanks, Anita. Thanks very much for that call. It is open forum today on Catholic Answers Live. Jimmy Akin is taking questions for 2 hours today. We got him both hours. And so you are encouraged to call. We go now to Elisa in Seattle, Washington, listening on Sacred Heart Radio. Elisa, you are on with Jimmy Akin. What's your question?
Hi, Jimmy. Thanks for taking my call. My question is related to the Eastern Orthodox and how they rebaptize Catholic converts. My husband is getting ready to convert from Catholicism to Orthodoxy, and his new priest told him his original baptism was invalid for several reasons, primarily because they didn't immerse him 3 times, and I guess immersion is required for Orthodox baptism, and then there's no invitation for the Holy Spirit to come. So I need some help trying to figure out why I can convince him that his original baptism was indeed valid.
Well, there are several things to say here. The first one is, it's obviously distressing to hear that your husband is leaving the Catholic Church or planning to. I would urge him to reevaluate that. I don't know what his particular issues are, why he feels that's something he needs to do. But there are a lot of resources that are available. We have many of them here at Catholic Answers. We can also provide personalized answers or recommendations for where to find more information. I would urge your husband to make a list of the issues that that are of the considerations that he feels are moving him in this direction, and then try to work through them with Catholic Answers and the resources we have available. That's the ideal solution. In terms of the baptism question, well, there are a few things I would say. Number one, there are many Orthodox who recognize the validity of Catholic baptisms. And so the particular group of Orthodox that he has been investigating is not the only opinion, even among Orthodox. And so that's one consideration to be borne in mind. Another is that you mentioned an invitation of the Holy Spirit. It's understood when you're baptizing someone in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, that you're invoking the Holy Spirit in this act, just like you're invoking the Father and the Son. And so there is an invocation of the Holy Spirit here. Now, you might say, or his Greek Orthodox priest friend might say, well, you need something extra. But that's not found in the New Testament. There's nothing in the New Testament says you need some additional invocation of the Holy Spirit besides the one contained in the Trinitarian formula, and you won't find that in the early church fathers either. So both in Scripture and in tradition, we don't have a basis for this from the beginning. Also, in terms of the immersion argument that was made, actually apostolic tradition contradicts that. If you look at the first century document known as the Didache, which is the earliest Christian document we have that addresses the mode of baptism, that is, the way the water is applied, what it says is that you should baptize in running water. It calls it living water, but it means running water. If you don't have running water, then baptize in standing water, preferably cold. If not, then hot water. And if you don't have either one of those, then pour water on the head 3 times in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. So right there in the first century, we see Christians accepting multiple different modes for baptism. It's not simply immersion. And so consequently, we need to honor baptisms that were done by additional modes, and we need to not repeat them, because as St. Paul teaches in his epistles, there is one Lord, one faith, one baptism, and so we don't repeat baptism because it's an insult to the work of the Holy Spirit that was done in the first time one was baptized.
Elisa, how does that strike you?
Yep, that sounds good. Really good information. Thanks, Jimmy.
Sure thing.
Okay, thank you very much. Elisa, I will remind the listener, in the last day of our pledge drive, you have been extremely generous with us over the last couple of days. We're very, very grateful for that. Today we have a $30,000 matching pledge. And this is among the extraordinary things that have happened this week. Another very, very generous donor, maybe the same donor. I don't know.
Different donor, actually.
Oh, different donor?
Yeah.
So the number to call to help us out there, 888-291-8000, or go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com.
And we only have 45 minutes left in this hour to talk about it, less than that, really. So our biggest challenge, our last day, this is the time to give us a call, 888-291-8000. We've opened up every phone line in the building that has someone standing by to be there for you to receive your donation. And this is the time to do it. This is the time we need to hear from you. We have very little time left to talk about this. Cy, one of the things that we often talk about is the Bible here on this show. And in particular, we talk about the Gospels because they tell us the story of Jesus and all of his teachings. And that's obviously very important to us as Christians. Wouldn't it be neat, though, if we had an additional teaching from outside of the Gospels that we knew for a fact Jesus had given? Would you like to know what a teaching like that would be? I mean, would that excite you? Would that interest you?
Yes.
Yeah, it would me too. And scholars have identified various sayings outside of the Gospels that from very early sources are reported to be things Jesus said. They're called, an individual saying like this is called an agraphon. It means not written. It's not written in the Gospels. Mm-hmm. Collectively, they're called the agrapha. And some of them are very fascinating to read. Unfortunately, with most of them, they're from sources that we can't be entirely sure, they're accurate. So maybe Jesus said this, maybe he didn't. But there's one agraphon that we know for an absolute fact Jesus said, even though it's not in the Gospels. You want to know what it is?
Boy, I want to know.
Jesus said, "It is better to give than to receive." That is not in the Gospels, but it is in the book of Acts. St. Paul reports this as a frequent saying of Jesus. And so there's an example of something Jesus taught. It's not in the Gospels. Notice it's on our subject today, which is giving. He said it's more blessed to give than to receive. So God will bless you for giving. When you give to support God's work, to support the poor, whatever it may be, you are actually going to be more blessed than the person who is receiving the gift. So when you give to support the work of Catholic Answers, we are certainly blessed. You help enable us to go forward and do this work and spread the gospel and share it with souls all over the planet. But you will be even more blessed. And so if you'd like to be blessed, by all means, please give us a call. The number is 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000. If you're outside of the U.S., that doesn't stop you from giving. The toll-free number is also available to you if you're in Canada. And no matter where you are in the world, it could be Ireland, it could be England, it could be South Africa, it could be Australia. Wherever you are in the world, you can go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com and make your donation safely and securely right there online on our secure website.
888-291-8000 is that number. We are in the midst of a $30,000 matching challenge. It's just extraordinary. $30,000 matching challenge. And everybody in the building is prepared to take your call. 888-291-8000. Pick up that phone and call now, because we are we're in the last now almost hour and a half. We're approaching the last hour and a half of our time with you to ask you for your support. We only do this 4 times a year. And we only do it for 6 hours when we do it, and we only take less than half of those 6 hours when we're actually on the air. So take this time to pick up that phone and call 888-291-8000. Please support the work that we do here at Catholic Answers Live. We go now to Chuck in Richardson, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio. Chuck, you are on with Jimmy Akin. What's your question?
Thank you, sir, for taking my call. I have a couple of questions related to to saying the rosary.
Okay.
One is it okay to say the rosary in parts, meaning possibly saying some of the mysteries early in the morning and then maybe later in the day saying the remainder of the mystery prayers?
Okay.
And then
let's deal with that first, and then we'll get to the second question. The answer is yes. It's perfectly fine to say the rosary in parts. In fact, most people do, because a complete rosary is either 15 or 20 mysteries. And most people don't say more than 5 at a time. And so most people are already saying the rosary in parts. And it's certainly possible to say the parts spread out over time. You don't even have to, I mean, you could say a single decade, and that would be fine. The rosary is a voluntary prayer. There are not firm and fast rules about how it must be said. In fact, in his apostolic letter on the rosary, where John Paul II proposed the luminous mysteries, he pointed out there is no single way to say the rosary. There's lots of different ways to do it. And really what's important is saying it in a way that helps you grow closer to God. And so if saying different parts of it at different times of day fits with your schedule or your devotional sensibilities and helps you grow closer to God, that's totally fine. There's no canon law about exactly how the rosary is to be said.
And thank you for that answer. And then the second one, and it sounds like you already may have answered it, is when I was in RCIA about 6 years ago, I had a sponsor tell me that he says his rosary prayers when he's driving to work in the morning. I guess if you're able to focus properly, that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of people say the rosary while they're driving. It's very common to do that. But as you say, you want to make sure you have the mental bandwidth available to both pay attention to the road and to say the prayers, because you do not want to be getting into traffic accidents and hurting other people. So let's say if you're tired or something, or distracted, or otherwise, there's stuff going on in the traffic, you need to pay attention to the traffic, and God will understand, and you can pray the rosary on another occasion.
Thank you very much, Chuck. Appreciate those questions. It is, again, open forum on Catholic Answers Live today. Jimmy will be here with us both hours to take your questions on any aspect of the life or faith of the Catholic Church. And once again, you don't have to be Catholic to call. Jimmy, I just want to go back to that $30,000 matching pledge that we have today. Thank you for all of those who are calling or maybe dialing right now, 888-291-8000. Everybody in the building is ready to take your call here at Catholic Answers today. And if you're able to make a donation, a pledge of $18 a month or more, any pledge of $18 a month or more, we're going to send you 2 books to say thank you. We're able to do that at that level. And the first is by Cardinal Robert Sarah, The Power of Silence Against the Dictatorship of Noise, an absolutely beautiful book. And then Surprised by Life, 10 Converts Explain How Catholic Teaching on Life Led Them to the Church. That's a book by Patrick Madrid. We want to send both of those as a thank you. Any pledge of $18 a month or more, we are able to do that. Mm-hmm.
And if you are already a donor, let's say you're already a member of the radio club, you're making a pledge already, you can also get these books. We want to make sure that they're available even for people who are already supporting us, and that's very important that you continue your support. But if you want to get these for an additional donation, a one-time amount, or for an increase in your pledge, you can also get them. Again, the number to call, 888-291-8000. We're going into a break now, and that means it's the perfect time to call because you won't miss anything. 888-291-8000, and we'll talk to you in just a few minutes
on Catholic Answers Live.
Will you do us a favor right now? Clear your mind of all other thoughts and reflect for just a moment on how Catholic Answers Live has made a difference in your life. Has our broadcast made your afternoon commute more meaningful? Perhaps you've learned how to explain the faith to family or friends in a more vibrant, convincing way. Something you heard here may have been just the thing you needed to look into joining or returning to the Catholic faith. All of these are serious reasons to be thankful, first and foremost to God, but also to all who have financially made it possible for us to air the show each day. Believe me, our gratitude could not be deeper. And we're coming to you today during our quarterly membership drive, asking you to join the ranks of the great people whose gifts and sacrifices have helped to turn around countless lives over the years, and, very possibly, helped make an eternal difference for many of them. Think about that for a moment. That's what your prayers and donations to Catholic Answers Live are doing. What a tremendous opportunity is being presented to you right now. Please don't let it pass you by. Call 888-291-8000 or visit CatholicAnswersRadio.com and let one of our fast, friendly customer service team members take your pledge. Large or small, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you call right now. Again, it's 888-291-8000 or CatholicAnswersRadio.com. We're offering some great appreciation gifts that are sure to deepen your faith life even more. But what's best is you'll have the confidence that when you turn your radio on tomorrow or next week or 12 days from now, we'll be here, boldly and charitably presenting the truth to a world that's searching for precisely that. Your pledge is vital to keeping Catholic Answers Live on the air. Will you make the call today to 888-291-8000 or donate securely online at CatholicAnswersRadio.com? Thank you so much in advance. God bless you.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live Open Forum. 2 hours of open forum today. Any question you've got on the life, faith, history of the Catholic Church is more than welcome, and you don't have to be Catholic to call. You can be of any faith you like or no faith at all. We're happy to take those calls. The number to call if you want to get into that queue is 318-7884. And we are coming down to the very last bit of our quarterly opportunity to come to you and ask to support us to keep Catholic Answers on the air doing what it does, but also to allow us, we're hoping to continue to move into new areas, because the culture is a great challenge. And those who maybe want to produce content that tears down or tears apart our society and even our individual hearts, the hearts of our children, it's not resting. It's moving always quickly into those new areas as they pop up, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, or I'm sure there are many. Now it's the 3D, what's that called?
Virtual reality.
Virtual reality. And here at Catholic Answers, we talk all the time about how can we move into those areas and what should we be doing in those areas. I don't know if you think we'll ever be doing a virtual reality show?
I would expect so. I mean, one of the kind of the guiding principles for Catholic Answers is we want to use every form of media that we can to reach people with the gospel. Now, right now, virtual reality is kind of in its baby step stage.
Yeah.
But as it grows and develops, I'm sure we'll have virtual reality. We're probably going to have augmented reality things we're doing. That's where you are, say, wearing glasses and it shows you an overlay, like a heads-up display about extra information about the things you're seeing. I could imagine, applications of that for the faith.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of possibilities, and there are possibilities here on the radio. Right now we're doing Catholic Answers Live. We're also doing Catholic Answers More, a pre or post show that we do for people who watch us streaming online. We do Catholic Answers Focus, and we have ideas for other radio programs that we haven't yet been able to pull the trigger on. But if you support Catholic Answers, we'll have the opportunity to do that. So the way to do that, the way to support us is call 888-291-8000 or go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. During the break, I went to check and see how we were doing, and the intrepid Darren Delosier, the director of radio, told me that he's already had several calls come through at his desk, even though he's not normally in customer service. As Chris mentioned at the beginning of the show, we've opened up the lines to everybody in the building so everybody can get through. I went by our director of customer services office, Kathy Stone, to ask her how we were doing, and she was currently taking a pledge, so she couldn't even tell me. So people are responding generously, but we need that to happen, especially today, because we have our largest matching challenge of this drive. It's $30,000, and we have now only less than 30 minutes left in this hour, plus next hour, to talk about it. So please give us a call. Now is the time. 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000, and we've pulled out all the stops to make it possible for you to easily get through and show your support for Catholic Answers.
And a magnificently generous donor has given us a $30,000 matching pledge today. So that's $30,000 that we'd very much like to see $30,000 in donations by the end of the day. And we are so grateful for everyone who has picked up the phone and called 888-291-8000 or gone online to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. Jimmy, take another call.
Okay.
Gus in Monrovia, California, listening on Immaculate Heart Radio. Gus, you are on with Jimmy Akin. What's your question?
Well, I want to just say the best I can because this stuff's a little over my head. But I read something, Jimmy, that you wrote regarding how St. Paul, I'll make it as quick as I can, St. Jerome, basically, when St. Paul stood up to St. Peter about how he was eating in front of the Jews and the Gentiles, basically St. Jerome said he was kind of acting, and then you said that... St. Augustine, remember that one?
Yeah.
So just to cut to the chase, I was wondering, I liked how you mentioned how at the end Pope Benedict kind of bridged how they were both kind of right, or pretty much totally right, and I was wondering, is it possible that someone like St. Paul could have been learning even as we're reading the scriptures? I mean, growing in his own knowledge?
Oh, sure. Okay, so let me fill in a little bit of context for people who may not be familiar with this. In the second chapter of the book of Galatians, St. Paul recounts an incident where after the Council of Jerusalem, he was in Antioch, which kind of served as his home church. It was the launching point for his different missionary journeys. He'd always come back to Antioch. And he was there, and Peter also came to Antioch, and while he was there, since it had already been decided that, and Peter knew this himself because God revealed this to him back in Acts chapter 10, that Gentiles are not unclean, and so it's perfectly fine for them to be Christians, and they don't need to become Jews, and it's okay for Jews to eat with Christians. Peter was eating with Christians who were Gentiles, as was St. Paul and St. Barnabas and other people. But then some individuals came who were associated with James, and even though James, this is James the Just, even though James the Just himself supported the view that Gentiles can be Christians without becoming Jews, some people in his orbit still wanted more distinction between Jewish Christians and Gentile Christians. And so when they also came to Antioch, Peter changed his eating plans so that he started eating just with Jews, lest he give offense to Jews and make them wonder what is up with him eating with Gentiles. St. Paul thought this was a big mistake, and so he publicly confronted Peter about this and pointed out that Peter himself acknowledged that Gentiles also are perfectly acceptable to God, and there's only one kind of Christian, which is Christian. Whether you're a Jew or a Gentile doesn't matter. And so this was Paul's opinion. Some of the church fathers would say that really this disagreement was kind of play acting, that Peter and Paul staged this for purposes of teaching other Christians a lesson. Now, I understand the pious sensibilities where you want to say, oh, two apostles would never have a serious disagreement or a serious falling out. And I think that's kind of the motivator behind saying this was a kind of a stage play they were acting out. But really, I don't think that was plausible at all. I think this was a genuine disagreement. Now, who's right in this case is a more interesting and subtle question, because if you read the book of Acts, St. Paul did something himself very interesting and very similar to what St. Peter did after the Jerusalem Council in Acts 15. He then, in Acts 16, on the second missionary journey, picks up St. Timothy for the first time. And Timothy's mother was a Jew, but his father was a Greek, and so Timothy was not circumcised. But in order to get Timothy accepted in Jewish circles, because they knew his father was a Greek, in order to get him accepted in Jewish circles for evangelistic purposes, Paul circumcised Timothy. Apparently, he circumcised him himself. At least that's the way the text is phrased. And this is an even bigger act than who you sit at the dinner table with.
Yeah.
So both Peter and Paul, in different occasions, could say, okay, for ministry purposes, whether it's keeping the peace between different groups of Christians or helping people become Christian, we can make some concession to Jewish customs in order to fulfill those ministry needs. And both Peter and Paul did that. And so it's kind of an interesting question, who was right on this occasion. It's kind of a judgment call. And most scholars are of the opinion that Paul, even though he was firmly convinced that Peter was wrong, he didn't win that argument on that occasion. Because if he had won the argument, he would have said, and Peter totally agreed with me. And he doesn't say that. So it looks like he actually lost that argument, at least on that occasion. But in terms of could Paul grow in knowledge? Absolutely. He grew in knowledge over the course of his career. And we can even show that because if you look at some of his earlier epistles, like 1 Corinthians, which was written around AD 53 or so, he's talking about the future coming of Christ in a way that suggests that, and same thing with 1 Thessalonians, which is like AD 51. He's talking about the second coming of Christ as if he's kind of expecting to still be alive when that happens. But then, he's not saying he will, but he's kind of expecting it. But then if you look at 2 Timothy, which is written shortly before his death, probably in the summer or fall of AD 66, and then he dies in AD 67. So it's about 15 years later. he's no longer expecting to be alive at the time of the second coming. He's talking about, I'm going to die soon and God's going to give me the crown, but he's not expecting the second coming to happen before that event. So that's an issue on which we can show over the course of the letters he wrote in his career, St. Paul demonstrably did change his views and learn more about stuff. So that's perfectly consistent with him being an apostle, just like the other apostles learned stuff over the course of time.
Thank you very much for that question, Gus. You kind of feel like if Paul was going back and forth on these things, poor Timothy. I mean, he caught him on a bad day, huh?
It's an impressive testament to how much
faithful
Timothy was willing to do to serve others.
Right, and Timothy is then, now I'm going to forget, Ephesus. No, not Ephesus. He becomes bishop of.
Well, he was left by Paul for an extended time overseeing Ephesus. Yeah, so he's in later literature. The term bishop was kind of fluid in this time, but looking back, later authors referred to him as the Bishop of Ephesus because of his ministry there.
Sometimes I see the word translated overseer.
Yes, correct.
Is that the right?
Yeah, in Greek, episkopos, epi meaning over, and skopos meaning seer.
Oh.
Episkopos means, from its roots, overseer, and then episkopos, when you bring it into English and anglicize it, episkopos becomes bishop. The P sound becomes a B, and we get bishop.
Okay. All right. So it was, yeah. All right. I got you. Oh, you know what? We have a $30,000 matching grant.
We should talk
today.
about that.
Yeah. And I don't want to give that short shrift, so to speak. And the number to call, 888-291-8000, or you can go online to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. Please help us to continue what we're doing here at Catholic Answers Live, and maybe expand that, depending on if we can. You know, we're at, as Chris was saying earlier in the program, we're at about 13 folks
listeners
donating
per station, per
tower. And if we could bring that up even to, say, 16. Just 3 more per tower, it opens up whole new vistas of what we can do here at Catholic Answers to continue to share the good news and to continue to defend the faith of the Catholic Church in a world that is, frankly, sometimes hostile to it. And increasingly, I think, in some ways, indifferent. That is the bigger problem than hostile. That
Frankly, yeah, and it even affects people in our own community. I mean, we know we have listeners who are benefiting from the show. They tune in all the time, and they've never supported. And that's something that, you as a listener, one of the things that St. Paul teaches in his epistles, if you look, this is in Galatians 6. If you look in Galatians 6, St. Paul says that the one who is taught should share all good things with the one who teaches. So we know we've got lots of people, way more than 13 people listening to each station.
Right.
And they're all benefiting, they're all receiving teaching that we're doing here on the air, but most of them are not responding. And, you as a listener, you want to be better than that. You want to support things. You want to fulfill St. Paul's principle. You want to fulfill the principle that Jesus articulated, that it's better to give than to receive. It's more blessed. You want to be blessed. You want to help people who are teaching God's word continue to do so and to continue to reach more souls. There are a lot of expenses that we have just to put this show on the air. I mean, we've got the lighting, we've got the computers, we've got the internet connections, we've got the data conversion of the audio stream that has to go out to the networks. We have personnel costs. We have all kinds of different things. We have the live streaming we're doing now. We've now begun to produce a television version of this show for EWTN. There are a lot of expenses associated with this program, and we need your help to meet them. So you want to not just be somebody who listens, who takes in the teaching, but doesn't help that reach other people. Maybe your finances are difficult, and maybe you can't give a lot, but maybe you can give something. The way to do that, the way to tap into the blessings that Jesus talked about, is by calling 888-291-8000. You can also go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. We've made it easier than ever before. We found there was a way that we could open up every phone line in the building to people receiving calls. So we've now done that to make it as easy as we possibly can for you to get through in the shortest amount of time possible and show your support. Once again, the number is 888-291-8000. And if you're one of the people who's never given before, this is a special word to you. We're asking you to step forward and be part of this team because you've been listening to the show, you've seen the value of it, you've received benefit in your own life. Now it's time to help others receive that too, and to help continue receiving it in your life, because if we weren't able to meet our fundraising goals, we'd have to cut back. There would be things we couldn't do. And so now's the time for you to help us. The number is 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000. Today, it's so important that we hear from you because we have our biggest challenge of the drive. It's a $30,000 challenge. It came in yesterday. We didn't know it was going to happen before. And now we are on the last day. We have only 15 minutes left in this hour and part of next hour to be talking about it. Then we'll be off the air. We won't be talking about this for another 3 months. So now's the time we need to hear from you. 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000. Or no matter when you're listening, including if you're listening delayed by podcast, or if you're in another part of the world, you can go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com and make your donation there. So once again, 888-291-8000 or CatholicAnswersRadio.com.
And now we go to Eric in Raleigh, North Carolina, listening on EWTN. Eric, your question for Jimmy Akin.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Let's see, my question is regarding the church teaching on working on Sundays.
Okay.
As far as like in my role, I've found if I'm able to take 20 minutes or an hour on a Sunday evening and kind of structure my work week, I find that I'm a lot more effective throughout the week. But I want to make sure that that's not doing anything against church teaching, if it's unnecessary, if I need to move it to a Saturday or a Friday. And then I also wanted to see if I could get some clarification on, is there a delineation between, I guess, more manual work and other types of work?
Okay. So there used to be a distinction that was drawn between what was called servile work and non-servile work. And servile work, as the term would suggest, is the kind of work done by servants. And so that typically would be like manual labor. And so this distinction between manual labor and intellectual labor, say writing or bookkeeping or things like that, was something that found a place in Catholic tradition for a time. But more recently, the Church has looked at that and said, that's not the most helpful distinction, because if you do manual activity all the time, then sure, it makes sense when you're resting, you want to get away from your normal activity. But that applies not just to manual activity, it also applies to other forms of activity. Like if you're a bookkeeper and you're crunching numbers all week, then actually getting away from that intellectual labor and doing something physical could be your form of rest. And so these days, the Church no longer draws a distinction between servile and non-servile or manual and non-manual labor. Instead, it encourages people, to the extent that it's possible and reasonable, to rest on Sunday by doing something different than what they normally do, so they're not stuck in the same rut all the time. That may mean going out and doing something physical, and that's perfectly fine if you're one of the people who, like many in our society, doesn't do much physical all week. On the other hand, if you're someone who's got a really physical job and you're doing physical activity all week, chilling out and not doing something physical on Sunday and actually physically resting could be the thing that's more appropriate for you. The general principle is one articulated by our Lord. In his own day, he was known for having a different way of viewing the Sabbath than others in his society. And he made the point, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And so that means human needs take priority over the observance of the Sabbath. The observance of the Sabbath needs to be accommodated to fit human needs. And so that sheds light on the first part of your question. If you need to take 20 minutes to organize your work week, well, if you could do it on a Friday or a Saturday, that would be great. It would help free up 20 minutes on a Sunday. But since the overarching principle is, or say doing it first thing Monday morning could also be an option. All of those would be great, but if for practical purposes you need to take 20 minutes on a Sunday to do something, then if it's meeting a genuine human need, like helping you out the rest of the week, it's something that can be done. So there's not a particular set of hard and fast laws in terms of how we observe Sunday. The church recognizes that people are in all kinds of different situations. Some people are required by their employers to work on Sunday, and that's okay. The church understands that. The church asks their employers to give them adequate time for rest and worship elsewhere in the week, but it recognizes that human needs are what take priority. And we want to observe the Sabbath in a way, or Sunday, literally speaking, in a way that takes those human needs into account and not be scrupulous about it.
Thanks very much, Eric. We go now to Michael in Los Angeles, California, listening on Immaculate Heart Radio. Michael, your question for Jimmy Akin.
Great show as always, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Matthew, in his gospel, opens up with the genealogy from Abraham to Jesus.
Yes.
But it looks like the period in Egypt is not included. Did Matthew deliberately leave that out, or did Jewish tradition just not want to address that difficult period?
Let me ask you a question. So the period in Egypt, do you mean the period of the Exodus, or the period of when the Holy Family was in Egypt when Jesus was a baby?
No, the Exodus.
The Exodus, okay. Well, my memory is that it's there. He may just not mention it, but those generations are covered. The genealogy is found in Matthew 1, and so it starts with Abraham, and that's pre-Exodus. So it says Abraham was the father of Isaac, Isaac was the father of Jacob, Jacob was the father of Judah and his brothers, and Judah the father of Perez and Zerah by Tamar, Perez the father of Hezron, Hezron the father of Ram, Ram the father of Amminadab, Amminadab the father of Nahshon, Nahshon the father of Solomon, Solomon the father of Boaz by Rahab. And by that point, we've reached after the Exodus, because the time of Rahab is the time of the conquest of the Promised Land under Joshua. So we've just come past the period of the Exodus. So Salmon would have been the husband of Rahab at the time of the end of the Exodus experience. His father Nahshon should have been around during the time of the Exodus itself, when they were wandering in the desert, assuming there are no generation gaps here, because one of the things we know about ancient Hebrew genealogies is they oftentimes didn't include every generation. They sometimes would skip generations. This is related to the fact that they had no words for grandfather and grandson, or great-grandfather and great-grandson. Any male you're descended from is your father. Any one male descended from you is your son. So you could skip a generation and say so-and-so was the father of so-and-so, just meaning he was a male ancestor. And we know in particular that Matthew's genealogy does skip generations in order to present Jesus' genealogy as 3 blocks of 14, presumably because if you add up the letters for David in Hebrew, it adds up to 14. And so the 3 blocks of 14 signify Jesus' role as the son of David, and thus the Messiah. But it does look like the genealogy is intended to cover this period of the Exodus, even though it doesn't mention the Exodus explicitly.
Okay, yeah, with the 400 years in Egypt, it just seemed like a very small group of names were listed there. But yeah, your explanation helps out. So yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Michael, very much. For those of you who are Trent Horn fans, you notice you haven't heard Trent on the live show recently. Trent's been otherwise engaged, but he'll be back.
He's had a baby.
Yeah. Yes, he did. That's right. That is
well, technically his wife Laura did.
I wasn't going to go there, Jimmy, but yeah. And so, but I do want to mention this for all of you, because I know there are very many people who follow what Trent does. Trent did a debate against a pro-choice philosophy professor, and we want to give it to you as a free download. And the way you get the free download is just go to Catholic.com. It's right there, top thing on the website. So just go to Catholic.com and get that free download of Trent's debate. Trent, as always, defending life. And that's what we do here. I'm defending the truth as defending life. And we have a $30,000 matching challenge this hour to help encourage you to help us to do those very things. The number to call, 888-291-8000, 888-291-8000.
And we have some people who've been calling in and donating. This is just a selection of a very few of them whose names I have here. Pat in Iowa has donated $50. Patrick in Omaha has donated $1,000, which means he's now a member of our President's Club. John and Laura in Lancaster, Ohio have donated $250. Mary Lee, also in Ohio, has donated $75. Thank you to these people and to everybody who's been calling in. We're going to be going into a break in just a minute, and that means it's an ideal time for you to call, so because you won't miss anything. So call 888-291-8000. Once again, 888-291-8000. Do it now while you have time, while you won't miss anything, while you're thinking about it, and we'll talk to you on the other side of the break.
I do have to say this, Jimmy. Just got a note that says we're a few $1,000s short for our goal for this hour. So I just want to let people know we still got 5 minutes till the top of the hour.
Yeah.
So 888-291-8000 is the number, 888-291-8000, or go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. As always, we are very, very grateful for your support.
Welcome to Catholic Answers Live, the program where you participate with your questions about apologetics and evangelization, including the most important theological, spiritual, moral, and social issues facing the world today. Call now with your question for today's guest. Toll free 1-888-31-TRUTH. That's 888-318-7884. Now, from San Diego, Catholic Answers Live.
Welcome back. Second hour, Catholic Answers Live. All total wall-to-wall open forum today, from beginning to end, and wall-to-wall Jimmy Akin as well. Jimmy Akin, senior apologist here at Catholic Answers. Also the author of A Daily Defense, which lots of people are using to either on a daily basis read through and have a different apologetics question answered, or just flip through it and learn various approaches.
A la carte.
A la carte. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Right.
Or dim sum.
Is that what dim sum means?
Well, literally translated, my understanding is dim sum means heart's desire, but it's
'Cause
used.
it is.
Yeah, but it's used in Chinese restaurants as a kind of a la carte. You pick out whatever is your heart's desire from the cart they bring around to you.
Oh, I'm so hungry. Why do you always bring up the food second hour? No,
I bring it up first hour too.
Do you?
We were talking about umeboshi plums in Catholic Answers More. That's food.
That's right.
That's Japanese food.
I'm going to go the number for if those who have a question and would like to get on the line to have Jimmy address your question. That number is 888-318-7884. Get on the line quickly, I would suggest, because those lines do fill up, and we want to make sure we get to your question if we possibly can. That's 888-318-7884. But for those of you who were listening last hour or have listened maybe the 2 days prior, you are aware that we are in the midst of our quarterly pledge drive, where we come to you for just 6 hours
So
each
this is
quarter.
our spring drive.
Spring drive, and we're in the last hour of it. So
Yes.
now this is the last hour. We're well in. Now we're more than 3 minutes into the last hour of our spring drive, and we have a $30,000 matching pledge.
So the game has been upped. I mean, Tuesday we had a $20,000 matching pledge. Wednesday we had another $20,000. Then we had a donor step in and very generously offer a $30,000 matching challenge. So your dollars will be matched up to $30,000. That's what he's challenging you to do, is to match this $30,000. And we now have less than an hour to talk about it on the air on this station. So we need you to give us a call. This is the time we need to hear from you. The number to call is 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000. As you may know, if you've been able to hear the show earlier today or yesterday, we found a way to rejigger our phone system so that not just the people in customer service can take your call, but everyone in the building can take your call. So we've got all kinds of people on the phones. When you call in, you might be talking to Darren Delosier, the head of our radio department. I can see he's in his
on the
office
phone
right
now.
now taking a pledge from someone. You might get Christopher Check, the president of Catholic Answers. You might get any number of other people in the building. We wanted to make it as easy as possible for you to get through and make your donation swiftly without having to have a long wait. And so we did that to make this easier for you, but we do need to hear from you today. In fact, right now, because there's less than an hour left. Don't put it off till the future because you might forget. I know that's what happens to me when I mean to do something and then I put it off. Don't worry about missing part of the show. You can always check it out later on YouTube or on Catholic.com. You can listen to the podcast, so you don't have to worry about missing any information. The important thing is this is the time that we've set aside, this small space every quarter, where we need to raise the funds sufficient to keep the show on the air and to keep the ministry growing. So by all means, give us a call, 888-291-8000, or go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. Once again, it's 888-291-8000 or CatholicAnswersRadio.com.
We're going to continue to take calls throughout the show because that's what we do. We're going to continue to do apologetics and evangelization. I just want to give out that number again, 888-291-8000, and let you know how this works, basically, because some people don't know or are confused about how it works, that we are a content producer. We make radio, and local stations air that radio at no cost to the local station. So you have to support your local station, and we do encourage that. We're all in this together. But in order for us to continue to make this content, we need your support. It doesn't happen without you, and we're particularly excited. It's been an extraordinary spring campaign, and we're very, very excited that today yet another donor, very generous donor, has given us a $30,000 matching pledge. $30,000 matching pledge. We would love to see $30,000 in donations to match that today. 888-291-8000 is the number. Jimmy, let's go to Karina in Oceanside, California, listening on Immaculate Heart Radio. Karina, you're on with Jimmy. What's your question?
Hi, yes. Thank you for taking my call. My question is, apart from the Bible, what kind of historical evidence is there for Peter being the first pope? And also, what would the sources be?
Okay, well, we have a variety of sources that talk about Peter's life apart from the New Testament, and one of the things that they agree on universally is that he ministered in the city of Rome, and that's where he died. He was martyred about the year AD 66, and after the Great Fire of Rome happened in 64, Nero, the emperor, began persecuting Christians and trying to blame the fire on them, because people were thinking he was the one that set the fire, so he wanted to find a scapegoat. And so he martyred St. Peter around AD 66. He martyred St. Paul in AD 67. And this is something that's testified to by a lot of different sources in the ancient church. In fact, there's a book on the martyrdom accounts of St. Peter and Paul. It's a scholarly book that goes through all the different early sources that we have that testify to this, and it's a fascinating read. We have a lot of other sources in the church fathers that talk about Jesus gave this special role of pope to Peter. He gave Peter a special authority. He gave him a special role in the church as the rock on which the church is built. So that's, in fact, why Simon Bar-Jonah got named Peter, or Petros in Greek. It means rock. That's because Jesus said, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." So he gave Peter this special role. In Luke, he told him to strengthen the faith of the other apostles, so he gave him a pastoral role even among the other apostles. In John's gospel, when other apostles are right there, he says, "Do you love me more than these?" And when Peter says he does, he says, "Then feed my sheep." So he's including the other apostles as the sheep. And this is something we find in the New Testament, but we find the same themes echoed and explored in the writings of the church fathers. For example, the church father Eusebius, he's known as the father of church history, and he talks about how Peter and Paul went to Rome and built the church there, and then we have the line of bishops of Rome, or popes, stemming from them. We have various testimonies in the church fathers to the authority of the Bishop of Rome, going back to St. Peter. If you want a single resource that kind of goes into this, I would suggest my book, The Fathers Know Best. It's a collection of excerpts from the writings of the church fathers divided by topic, and several of the chapters are devoted specifically to establishing the special role that Peter had in the church, and the fact he went to Rome, and the fact that the successors, his successors as bishops of Rome, have the same Petrine authority. All of that's covered in a lot of detail in the writings of the church fathers, and the relevant excerpts are there for you in my book, The Fathers Know Best.
Thank you very much, Karina, for that call. I'm going to continue to give out the number between callers, 888-291-8000, because we do have this $30,000 matching challenge today. 888-291-8000. 888-291-8000, or you can go online to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. We now go to John in Peoria, Illinois, listening on the Catholic Answers app. John, your question for Jimmy Akin.
Thank you for taking my call. I'm a Catholic that's been divorced, and I'm setting up a program to go through an annulment.
Okay.
Also in a relationship with someone. And I was curious to know that once the annulment's complete and we want to get married again, does she have to go through the Catholic catechism to get married in the church with me, or can her and I just get married in the church without her being a Catholic.
Okay. Let me ask a couple of questions. First one is, with your first marriage that you're seeking an annulment on, were you a Catholic or your spouse a Catholic at the time of that marriage?
I was Catholic, and she
Okay.
became Catholic.
Okay. So you were Catholic. Did you get married in the church or outside of the church?
Inside in the church.
Okay, so that marriage is presumed valid, and that means that an annulment is not guaranteed here. So you don't want to assume that just because there's a procedure to examine whether a marriage was null, that means automatically your marriage was null. So you want to be careful there, and that has implications for how serious you may want to be in a relationship right now, because you may not be free to marry someone else, and you don't want hurt feelings either for you or for this other person, and so you want to be cautious about this. Assuming you are free to marry, then it's not required that your spouse become a Catholic. Obviously, the ideal is for your future spouse to become a Catholic. That way the two of you can be united, not just as husband and wife, but be united spiritually as well. And that always helps strengthen a marriage. And so that's the ideal. I'd see if she's interested in exploring the Catholic faith. And if she is, that's marvelous. And we have all kinds of resources at Catholic.com that can help her out. Also, your local parish, you'd want to get involved there in their Inquirers class. So it's great if she is interested in exploring whether to become Catholic. But if she's not, then it's still possible for you to marry her, assuming there's nothing on her end that needs to be taken care of. Like if she's been married before, then she also would need to get an annulment to show that she's free to marry you. And that's something your local parish could help you with. But if she's free to marry you and you're free to marry her, then it's possible for you to marry even though she's not Catholic. You may need what's known as a dispensation to marry her, depending on whether she's baptized as a Christian or not. If she's not baptized as a Christian, you would need to get a special kind of permission called a dispensation from your bishop to marry her, but that's not too hard to obtain. If she is a fellow Christian, then you still need to get permission to marry her, but it's not the same as the dispensation I spoke about. But it's quite possible you need to make sure that you're planning on preserving your Catholic faith and continuing to practice your Catholic faith and protect yourself from anything that would try to pull you away from that. Also, you have an obligation as a Catholic to do what you can to see that any children arising from the union are raised Catholic. That may or may not be relevant at your time of life. And she would need to be informed of these responsibilities on your part, but she doesn't have to agree to anything in particular. She just has to be aware of your obligations as a Catholic and still agree to marry you.
Thank you very much, John, for that question. We have a $30,000 match.
Yeah.
A matching pledge today. I'm looking at the clock and I'm seeing we have about 41 or 2 minutes left on the air. I can tell you this, that after the show is over, folks will stay and answer the phones as long as the phones keep ringing. So you don't have to worry. You can, if you're on your way home now or something like that, give a call after the show airs. But right now we have everyone in the building next to a phone. If they're not here in the studio with us, they're next to a phone ready to answer your call. $30,000 matching pledge today, 888-291-8000, or go online to CatholicAnswersRadio.com, 888-291-8000.
And, in the previous hour, we talked about one of Jesus' sayings that's not found in the Gospels. It is better to give than to receive, or it's more blessed to give than to receive. So, when you donate to help the work of Catholic Answers, we are very certainly blessed by that. But you will be even more blessed because, as Jesus said, it's more blessed to give than to receive. So if you want to tap into those blessings, please do contact us and support the work of Catholic Answers by calling 888-291-8000, or anywhere you are in the world, any time of day or night, even if you're like listening to this later on podcast, even weeks later, you can still go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com and make your donation safely and securely there online. We've also been talking about some things St. Paul says about giving, like in Galatians 6. He says that the one who is taught God's word should share all good things with the teacher and to make the teacher's work possible. And so if you're being taught God's word here via Catholic Answers Live, by all means, please share some of your generosity with us. And St. Paul also indicates that you'll receive blessings for that. He goes on to say, this is still in Galatians 6, he goes on to say, do not be deceived, God is not mocked, for whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. For he who sows to his own flesh, and in context that means just spending your money on your own pleasures, he who sows to the flesh will from the flesh reap corruption, but he who sows to the Spirit, and in context that means using your money to help the work of God's Spirit, God's spiritual work, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. And so St. Paul is very big on the fact that if you use your money in a spiritual way, you will reap spiritual benefits. And so if you've been learning about God and finding out new things here on Catholic Answers Live, if we've been teaching you, by all means, please help this work go forward by sharing your generosity with us, and God will bless you for that. In fact, in 2 Corinthians 8, another one of Paul's very famous sayings about giving is God loves a cheerful giver. And so if we've touched you and brought joy, whether it's intellectual joy or emotional joy or spiritual joy into your life by things you've heard, little things like, oh, I never thought of that, that's awesome. By all means, take that cheerfulness and share your generosity with us. We have that $30,000 matching challenge. We now have less than 45 minutes before we have to stop talking about it here on the air. We won't be talking about it for months after this, and so now is when we need to hear from you. Please do it now while you're thinking about it. The number to call is 888-291-8000. Once again, 888-291-8000, and you can also make your donation safely and securely online at CatholicAnswersRadio.com.
Catholic Answers changes lives. We know Catholic Answers changes lives because we hear from people each and every day who tell us just that Catholic Answers has made an enormous difference in my life. Here's an example.
Hi, this is John Beggy from Portland, Oregon, and I wanted to share with you the impact that Catholic Answers Live has had on me and my faith formation. And what it's allowed me to do is be able to gain a deeper and more faithful understanding of the magisterium and the teaching of the Catholic Church, which in turn has given me the confidence to be able to share with others. And I'm forever grateful for the staff at Catholic Answers Live, as they've given me the knowledge and the understanding so that I can go and take those first steps in being able to be an apologist.
888-291-8000 is the number. 888-291-8000, a $30,000 match. For the remainder of this hour. We have now about 35 minutes left in the program. 888-291-8000 is the number.
And we have some special gifts that we'd like to send you. I don't know that we've talked about them this hour, but if you join the radio club, we have a couple of books if you're able to donate $18 or more a month, or if you're already a member and you make a one-time donation of a certain amount, we have two books that we'd like to send you. What are they, Si?
Surprised by Life from Patrick Madrid. 10 converts explain how Catholic teachings on life led them to the church. We're very happy to send you that. And an absolutely beautiful book by Cardinal Robert Sarah, a follow-up to his just worldwide bestseller, God or Nothing. And this book is called The Power of Silence Against the Dictatorship of Noise. We're able to send you both of those books, if you are able to make a monthly pledge of $18 or more at the number 888-291-8000, 888-291-8000, or if you go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com and make your pledge there. We go now to Eric in Marina del Rey, California, listening on Immaculate Heart Radio. Eric, your question for Jimmy Akin.
Hey, I had a question about papal infallibility, or I guess more generally infallibility, and what counts as infallible, because there seems to be no good answer on it, because I hear different things about, especially when it comes to Humana Vitae and Sacerdotalis Ordinatio, where in me reading it as a layperson, it looks pretty clear to me that Pope Paul VI or Pope John Paul II is calling upon their papal authority when they talk about their role as successor to Peter in affirming that birth control, can't be used, or that women will never be priests, and also calling on the deposit of the faith. But you hear like continued debate on it. Is there any way to know for sure what's really an infallible statement and what's not, and what exercises ordinary infallibility and what exercises extraordinary? I mean, extraordinary is obviously obvious, but anyway.
Okay,
that's
well,
my question.
let me take a swing at this. Unfortunately, you've asked a very interesting question that to answer in detail would take a long time to explain, longer than I have here. In fact, one of the things I'm hoping to do in the near future is write a book on how to analyze and categorize the authority levels of different magisterial statements, because it's a fascinating subject. There's lots of misinformation on this, as you indicate. Unfortunately, that book's not out yet, but if you are interested in that kind of book, let us know here at Catholic Answers, and hopefully we can see about producing it. To give you a very brief overview, so as you mentioned, there's two different ways the magisterium is exercised. There's what's known as the ordinary exercise of the magisterium and the extraordinary exercise of the magisterium. The ordinary exercise is the normal way the magisterium operates. It's just the ordinary teaching of the Pope or the bishops, wherever they are in the world. They're not gathered into an ecumenical council. They're not issuing a dogmatic definition. They're just doing their ordinary teaching job. When they agree that something is obligatory for the faithful in a definitive manner that doesn't admit of any exceptions, then that teaching, even through the ordinary magisterium, becomes infallible. And according to the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, that has happened for the Church's teaching regarding the use of contraception in marriage and for the ordination of men only to the priesthood. Those have both been defined by the ordinary magisterium. The extraordinary magisterium, which is exercised by ecumenical councils teaching in union with the Pope, or by the Pope himself when he makes an ex cathedra definition, has not addressed those two issues definitively. So the statements you mentioned by Paul VI in Humanae Vitae and by John Paul II in Ordinatio Sacerdotalis, those were not infallible definitions by the Pope. Those doctrines were already infallibly defined by the ordinary magisterium. In order to find an infallible definition from a council or a pope, you need to look for some special language. And it's more than just saying this is true. It's more than just saying the faith teaches this. It's more than just saying I'm teaching this as the successor of Peter. There are some very specific terms that typically are used in order to issue a definition. And if you don't see those terms, what you're looking at probably is not a definition. In the case of an ecumenical council, they need to both be touching on a doctrinal matter rather than, say, a disciplinary matter, and they need to say something like anathema sit, or let him be anathema. That's kind of the classic phrase that gets used when they're making a definition if they're dealing with a matter of doctrine. Also, they may use the word define, and that's the word that you want to look for if you're reading a papal document. The popes typically will say something like, I declare and define that such and such is the case. And when they use that verb define, that's when you know that they're making an infallible definition. If they don't use the word define, even if they're otherwise using very strong language, they're not invoking the fullness of their authority as the successor of Peter, typically, and so they're not typically making a definition that's infallible at that point.
Okay, Eric?
Okay. Yeah, that helps a lot. The one quick thing, what body did you say it was that said that those two matters had already been taught in that they were
It's
infallible
the,
in the ordinary
the
exegesis?
Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. It's the body that that Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, later Benedict XVI, was head of, and both of those statements were made during his time. So, in fact, if you Google Jimmy Akin, Ratzinger, infallible, and either contraception or women's ordination, you'll find stuff on my blog that cites the relevant sources.
Thank you so much, Eric, for that call. We have a $30,000 matching pledge that we have just about a half hour to make sure that we reach that $30,000. We really want to reach that $30,000.
We do. We need to. And you know, the clock is rapidly running out. So by all means, give us a call. By the way, if you had any difficulty calling on previous days, we've now got the phones rigged so everyone is available to you to make this easy. We're going into a break now, so we're going to have a couple of minutes. You won't miss anything. This is the ideal time to call. We need to hear from you. The number is 888-291-8000. You can also go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com, but please contact us one way or another, 888-291-8000. Time is almost run out, and so the situation is urgent.
Will you do us a favor right now? Clear your mind of all other thoughts and reflect for just a moment on how Catholic Answers Live has made a difference in your life. Has our broadcast made your afternoon commute more meaningful? Perhaps you've learned how to explain the faith to family or friends in a more vibrant, convincing way. Something you heard here may have been just the thing you needed to look into joining or returning to the Catholic faith. All of these are serious reasons to be thankful, first and foremost to God, but also to all who have financially made it possible for us to air the show each day. Believe me, our gratitude could not be deeper. And we're coming to you today during our quarterly membership drive, asking you to join the ranks of the great people whose gifts and sacrifices have helped to turn around countless lives over the years, and, very possibly, helped make an eternal difference for many of them. Think about that for a moment. That's what your prayers and donations to Catholic Answers Live are doing. What a tremendous opportunity is being presented to you right now. Please don't let it pass you by. Call 888-291-8000 or visit CatholicAnswersRadio.com and let one of our fast, friendly customer service team members take your pledge. Large or small, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you call right now. Again, it's 888-291-8000 or CatholicAnswersRadio.com. We're offering some great appreciation gifts that are sure to deepen your faith life even more. But what's best is you'll have the confidence that when you turn your radio on tomorrow, or next week, or 12 days from now, we'll be here, boldly and charitably presenting the truth to a world that's searching for precisely that. Your pledge is vital to keeping Catholic Answers Live on the air. Will you make the call today to 888-291-8000 or donate securely online at CatholicAnswersRadio.com? Thank you so much in advance. Give now at CatholicAnswersRadio.com or 888-291-8000. God bless you.
Tomorrow morning on EWTN Radio, don't forget to join Dr. Ray Guarendi as he takes calls from listeners with family, relationship, and pastoral difficulties. The Doctor is In with Dr. Ray Guarendi airs weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And after Catholic Answers Live today, Raymond Arroyo challenges viewers with important political and cultural reporting and analysis of a wide variety of topics of interest to Catholics and people of faith on the world over with Raymond Arroyo right here on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Thank you very much for joining us. We remind you that if you're a Trent Horn fan or if you'd like to hear a real master debate the question of life and death, Trent debates a pro-choice professor, philosophy professor, and it's for free. You get a free download at Catholic.com. We have a bunch of people to thank because you've been so generous.
Yeah.
And I will remind you before I get to those thanks, we have a $30,000 matching pledge or a match given to us today.
And we have less than 25 minutes to talk about it.
And we have, oh, wow. Okay. And the number, 888-291-8000, 888-291-8000, or go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. Thank you, Mary, for your $500 gift. Thank you, Chad, down in Texas. And I'll say the location if the location's here for your $50 gift. Joseph in L.A., that's either Louisiana or Los Angeles.
I would assume Louisiana because it's
looks like a postal.
Well, yeah, they're using postal abbreviations. So Joseph in Louisiana.
Okay, and Gerardo in California, thank you so much for your $100 gift. Travis in Muncie, Indiana, $50, $10 a month from Ann in Albuquerque. Thank you both very much for those very generous donations. And Frank, $2,000.
Hey,
Thank
so
you
another
much,
new
Frank.
member to the President's Club.
That's right. And do you get to bring a spouse into the President's Club with you if it's 2,000 instead of
I believe it's on a household basis.
Oh, it's a household basis.
I think so.
Okay, very good. So, thank you to all those donors. Again, we're just in the 20s of minutes left in our spring drive. We only come to you 4 times a year to ask you to support Catholic Answers Live. We don't just like your support. Although we do like it, we
depend
need
on
it.
Yeah.
We need that support in order to continue to do what we do. 888-291-8000 is the number. Help us with that $30,000 matching pledge. 888-291-8000 or CatholicAnswersRadio.com. Jimmy, you want to go to callers or?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't think I was ready to go to callers. Gustav in Bedford, New Hampshire, watching on YouTube. Hi, Gustav, and thanks to everybody watching on YouTube or Facebook or Periscope. Gustav, your question for Jimmy Aiken.
Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Cy.
Howdy.
Hi, Gustav.
So I guess there's different parts to my question, and it's all regarding blessings.
Okay, what's the first
I want
part?
to know what type of blessings can the laity do?
The laity can do a variety of blessings. They're not strictly categorized by type. It's sort of ad hoc. Obviously, laity can do simple things like say, God bless you, and things like that, or make the sign of the cross on their children's forehead or something like that. But the church has a collection of blessings that's found in a document known as the Book of Blessings. And each one of those individually has an introduction that, among other things, explains who can do this. And in some cases, they'll be reserved to particular individuals like priests and deacons. In other cases, though, it will expressly say that laity can do this blessing. And so the way to know for sure whether a particular blessing can be done by laity is by looking it up in the Book of Blessings and checking the introduction to see what it says there. Like I said, there's not a systematic rule about laity can do this kind but not another. But one generalization that I've noticed in looking at the various blessings is that laity tend not to be able to do blessings that are associated with entering a state of life. So, for example, if someone's being consecrated as a monk or a nun, that's something that a layperson, an ordinary layperson certainly, typically is not able to do. But if it's something like the blessing of throats on St. Blaise's Day, that's one that laity, it's not entering a new state of life, that's one that laity are permitted to do.
Gustav?
Okay, that's great. Can you actually give a definition of blessing? Because is it like I've read that it's like a power given to us by God, or it's a free gift from God? What exactly? Like what happens?
So, so there is a formal definition, but my memory is fuzzy on it exactly. I'd need to check either the Book of Blessings or it may be in the Catechism. But if I had to define it off the top of my head, based on my memory of what I've seen the official definition say, is it's basically an invitation, it's an appeal to God to use a particular thing, whether it's a state of life or an object or whatever, to further His glory and to benefit people here on earth.
Thank you very much, Gustav, for that call. We are joined now in studio by Chris Check, the president of Catholic Answers. Hi, Chris.
Cy, Jimmy, I apologize for breaking up the show, but I just had to share a story of a call that I just took from a gentleman named Michael who lives in South Carolina. He lives in his car. He's got a job. He's saving money to buy a home, but right now he's living out of his car. He just made a gift of $10 a month to support, a $10 monthly pledge to support Catholic Answers Live. And he just went on at length about how this program brings him so much joy, so much education, so much edification, and he said it's the work of the Holy Spirit. Now, of course, the three of us, we know that.
Yes.
We know that's true. Our listeners know that's true. But I just wanted to share with our listeners, here is a man living in his car, and he has made this extremely sacrificial gift while he's trying to save to buy a home. And I was just sitting there. The hair was standing up on the back of my neck as he was telling me this story, and I wanted to share that with our listeners. So.
Absolutely.
Extraordinary generosity.
Let's ask everybody to pray for it.
Amen. Yes, absolutely. Everyone, please pray for Michael in South Carolina. He's living in his car. He's working. He's saving money for a home right now. Please keep him in your prayers. And I know that our Lord is going to bless this generosity. He will.
Michael, thank you very, very much for that very, very generous
All right.
act.
So I just wanted to share that story with you guys.
Thank you very much.
All right.
That's
Take care.
incredibly powerful.
It is indeed, and very humbling.
Yeah.
A very humbling call. It's hard to know exactly what to say when someone is that
Thank you.
generous. Yeah,
Thank you.
You're good, Jimmy. You know what to say. We have this $30,000 match. We've had, I suppose it gives you a sense of that we're a communion of people. I mean, when you have someone who says, "I'll give you $20,000 yesterday." If you go out and match it, that's a person obviously of means who values what we do here.
Right.
And then a person like Michael, who a person not of means,
Right.
and who will say, "I'll give you $10 a month to keep doing what you're doing."
Right. And obviously the biblical story that calls to mind is the widow's mite, where a particular widow at the temple in Jerusalem in Jesus' day was voluntarily giving, even it was just 2 small coins. In Greek, the word is lepta. An individual lepton is a very small copper coin, and it's not worth very much. But Jesus said, because she gave out of her poverty, she gave more than these other people who gave much objectively larger amounts. And so, when someone like Michael makes a sacrifice, it's voluntarily, but of that nature. It's incredibly generous, and we want to thank that in a special way. It's something that he didn't have to do, but if he chooses to do it, it's something that is very special and very meaningful, and we want to acknowledge that.
And I feel like I'm really gonna. It's such a motivation to do your very, very best. I mean, I really feel like people work hard around here and try very hard to do our best. But I guess that's just a little added. Get out there.
Indeed.
Continue that work. 888-291-8000 is the number if you can call and pledge to support Catholic Answers. 888-291-8000. You can also go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. Again, we have a $30,000 matching pledge today, a gift of extraordinary gratitude that we are extraordinarily grateful for. 888-291-8000 is the number. We now go to Jenny in Walla Walla, Washington. Jenny, you are on with Jimmy Akin. What's your question? Hi, Jenny. I know you're there. I can hear it.
Yeah.
No? We'll get back to Jenny.
We'll get back to you.
Hang
By the way,
on.
folks, just so you're aware, when you're on hold, please do listen to your phone, because that'll enable us to serve you in the best way possible. Don't use speakerphone or have headsets that you're standing by. As soon as you're on hold, just keep the phone to your ear, and it'll help us out.
We'll try to get back to you in a quick second there, Jenny. We go now to Robert in Camdenton, Missouri. Robert, you are on with Jimmy Akin. What's your question?
Hi, Jimmy.
Howdy.
This is the first time I've really been talking on the radio, so I'm a little nervous. But
That's okay.
Anyway, it's a deep privilege. First of all, I have basically 2 questions and 1 statement to make, if that's all right.
Well, we don't have a lot of
the
time
first
today.
question-
How about we take your first question?
Okay. Thank you.
And call back another time with the other.
Okay. As a Catholic, do we have any kind of concept or belief that there's what's that assurance on this side of death that one will go to heaven on the other side of death?
Yes, any assurance that we're going to go to heaven is by definition blessed. And God has given us various ways of being assured that we will go to heaven. This is one of the subjects that's talked about, for example, in the first epistle of John, where he specifically talks about, if you're living in love for your brother and for God, then you can be assured that you're going to go to heaven. The same theme is explored elsewhere in the New Testament, in particular, where it announces the message of salvation in various ways. It talks about the things you need to do to be saved. You need to have faith, you need to be baptized, you need to repent of sin, and so forth. And you can be therefore confident that if you do those things, then you'll be saved. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no possibility of self-deception. There is, and even St. Paul acknowledged that. He said, I'm not aware of anything against myself, but that doesn't mean I'm justified. He said, it's God who judges me. So he acknowledged that it is possible for us to deceive ourselves. Also, we have free will, and we could turn our back on God one day if we misuse our free will and fall into what's known as mortal sin. That's something St. Paul also talks about, where he talks about how for example, when he talks to the Corinthians about how they believed and that brought them salvation unless they believed in vain and have turned their back on God. So this is something that is a recurring theme in the New Testament. The good news is even if we do commit mortal sin, we can still repent and come back to God. That's the purpose of Jesus teaching the parable of the prodigal son. Where the son is received by the Father again, even though he turned his back on him. It's also why Jesus instituted the sacrament of confession, which we read about in John chapter 20. So we do have assurance that on God's part, God has promised that if we respond to his offer of grace, then he will save us. And so that gives us assurance. If we look at our lives and we say, yeah, I'm responding to God's offer of salvation in the way he said I should, I'm participating in the sacraments, I've repented, and all these things, then that does give us assurance that we'll be with him in heaven. But we have to recognize there is the possibility that we could be self-deceived or that we could misuse our free will in the future, and those could interfere with our salvation. But we still, apart from that, can have assurance in God.
Robert, will you, in fact, call us back again with the other points?
At this time, next another day.
Yes, please. Yeah, because because we're kind of going quick for.
We have other people we need to get to, and we only have a few minutes, and we have to fundraise today too.
So we'd love it if you'd call it back again. Thanks, Robert.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 888-291-8000 is the number to support Catholic Answers live right now. And why I say right now, we are coming down to the last moments of our spring efforts.
Yeah, we have less than 15 minutes left.
However, I will say this. The phones will remain open after we go off the air, and they will remain open as long as there are calls coming in. So there's going to be somebody there to take your call if you're on the road right now or need time to get to where you can make that call. 888-291-8000. Anytime you can go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com to make that donation.
Even after we're off the air today, even in future days. If you're listening at any time, you can always go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com, even if it's not part of this drive, and help support the ministry.
But we have that $30,000 matching pledge.
Yeah.
And so today, this is if you feel any urgency, well, maybe feel that as the prompting of the Spirit a little bit, because it is urgent, and we are in the very last moments of our ability, or well, not our ability, but of our opportunity that we have every 4 months to come to you and ask you for your support.
We've committed to you that we're not going to fundraise all the time. We only do it 3 days every 4 months, or 3 days every 3 months. And so it's not even all of our 2-hour shows. It's just part of them. We do answer questions. We want to keep the shows interesting, keep the work of the ministry going forward. So our commitment to you is we're not going to over fundraise on this. But what that means is when we do fundraise, when we do come before these microphones and say we need your help, we really do need your help. And that time is right now. It's urgent. It's the last part of the show. We need to meet that matching challenge of $30,000. And for that to happen, we need to hear from you. We've opened up every phone line in the building that we have someone who's able to man it to make sure that you get through easily and quickly. The number to call is 888-291-8000. Once again, it's 888-291-8000.
And now we have to take a quick, very, very brief break, and we'll be right back with more Catholic Answers Live.
We're here for you. Call now. Catholic Answers Live.
Do you want to end abortion, halt the attack on traditional marriage, and ensure religious freedom for ourselves and for our grandchildren? To do this, we must convert the culture. St. Paul Street Evangelization is a grassroots initiative that recognizes this need and takes it to the streets. If you're interested in peacefully sharing the gospel in your area, visit streetevangelization.com to learn more.
Call now with your question. 888-318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
This is it, the last segment of our pledge drive for this season. 888-291-8000 is the number. 888-291-8000. And just a little note that Jimmy and I are going to stay after. For those who are watching the show streaming, we'll be here for an extra segment to visit with you after the show. That number again, 888-291-8000, or go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com.
And if you're listening on a terrestrial radio station, you want to see our pre-show or our post-show, Catholic Answers More, you can always check that out on YouTube.com. /CatholicCom, and we have those archived there for you. We want to say thank you to Kathleen, who originally called to donate $250, but then called back and said, make it $500. So that's awesome. That's an extra bit of generosity. So thank you so much for that extra generosity, Kathleen. That's really meaningful. Also, today apparently is the 90th birthday of Elizabeth, who's one of our donors. So happy birthday. Happy 90th birthday to Elizabeth, and here's to many happy returns.
And here's a taste of what folks say to us when they tell us what Catholic Answers means in their life. This is a little testimony that came in.
I just kind of stumbled upon this Catholic broadcasting channel, which introduced me to the podcast of Catholic Answers that I get during the day. So I found it very helpful and very interesting that Catholics are biblical and have answers and not superstitious, and it kind of rocked my world. So keep up the good work, Catholic Answers, and all you people that are involved. Thanks again for what you do. God bless you.
And thank you so much for that testimony. And
rocking people's world is what we're all about.
Yeah, well, the thing
what
is,
we want to do.
The truth itself does rock your world.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, and it's and it goes on and on. We can go deeper and deeper into the truth, because the truth is, in fact, a person, or a trinity of three persons. Jesus Christ himself is the truth, and he's an endlessly fascinating person.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you say that?
Infinitely.
Yeah. Is that even more than endlessly? Is infinitely even more?
Well, it depends on how you want to define your terms. But
888-291-8000 is the number to pledge and support Catholic Answers. Again, $30,000 match for today. $30,000 match. This is a great opportunity for us. We hope it strikes you as a great opportunity, both to support what we believe is an important spiritual work, confirming folks in the faith and defending the faith and sharing the faith with many who have never heard it. 888-291-8000 is that number. Or you can go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. How about we go back to calls,
Sounds
Jimmy,
great.
for a quick minute? We go now to Charles in Abilene, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio. Charles, your question for Jimmy.
Yeah, I thank you for taking my call. I'll be real quick.
Okay.
I think I've been enlightened in Scripture, and my question is, when Elijah and Enoch began their 3.5 year prophecy, that starts God's prophetic time clock, and as we know, the beast makes war against them and overcomes them and kills them. And my question is, I've come to believe that it is the two witnesses that will inflict the mortal wound upon the head of the beast, the Antichrist. My question is, why is it that? Why do you think that squares with Scripture? And can you kind of, give me some feedback on this to see if
Sure.
you really feel like I'm on the right track here?
Okay, so you're referring to a passage in the book of Revelation. This is Revelation chapter 11. And in that passage, there are 2 olive trees and 2 lampstands, which stand before the Lord of the earth. And John tells us that if anyone would harm them, fire pours from their mouth and consumes their foes. If anyone would harm them, he is doomed to be killed. They have power to shut the sky that no rain may fall during the days of their prophesying, and they have power over the waters to turn them into blood and to smite the earth with every plague as often as they desire. When they have finished their testimony, the beast that ascends from the bottomless pit will make war on them and will conquer them and kill them. and their bodies will lie in the street of the great city, which is allegorically called Sodom and Egypt, where their Lord was crucified. So that's Jerusalem. In terms of who these witnesses are, now you mentioned them being Enoch and Elijah, and that's a common theory. However, if you look at the symbolism that's associated with them, it would suggest something different. It would suggest in particular, since one of them shuts up the heavens from rain, which is something that Elijah is famous for doing. One of them does seem to echo Elijah, but the other turns water to blood and strikes the earth with plagues. And that doesn't sound like Enoch. Enoch never did those things. But you know who did is Moses. And so it looks like who we have here is figures that echo Moses and Elijah, who themselves represent the law and the prophets, or the two components of the Hebrew Scriptures. And so many people have looked here and said, okay, these may not actually be individuals. These may be the law and the prophets, God's word written, and it's the judgment that it indicates falls on those who disobey God's word. Also, in terms of them being the ones who strike a blow against the Antichrist, well, certainly they don't strike a final blow, because that's something that the New Testament says Jesus himself will do. And here they're actually killed by the Antichrist. And so what this means is somewhat uncertain, and there are other possibilities as well. Also, I wouldn't say that this necessarily applies to our future at all. Much of the book of Revelation is said to, the book of Revelation is said to show what's going to happen soon, and that suggests that much of what at least most of what it said, is likely to have happened in the first century or the first few Christian centuries. If you want to read more about that, type in Jimmy Akin and Book of Revelation, and you'll find some stuff I've written on that. So I would say there's a bunch of interpretive options here. Many of them apply to our past. There may also be applications to our future, because prophecy can have more than one meaning. But I would say be cautious here and think about alternatives in terms of what something could mean without assuming it must mean one particular thing.
Thank you very much, Charles. And I will take one more opportunity to remind you that these are the very last moments of our pledge drive, our spring pledge drive here at Catholic Answers Live. If you can make a pledge of $18 a month or more, we're able to send you Surprised by Life, a wonderful new book from Patrick Madrid, and The Power of Silence Against the Dictatorship of Noise by Cardinal Robert Sarah, a follow-up to his magnificent book, God or Nothing. We'd love to be able to send those to you, and we are able to do that if you can make a pledge of $18 a month or more, and all of that will help us to reach our goal this hour of $30,000, and we do, in fact, have a matching pledge of $30,000.
Right, and we're right down to the end of the show now. There's very little time left, so the situation is urgent. We really need to hear from you. Please give us a call. The number is 888-291-8000. We're going to be going off the air here in just a few moments, which means you're not going to miss anything, and this is going to be the perfect time to call. We're still going to have people here standing by the phones to take your donation, to accept your generosity. They're going to be here as long as you keep calling in. So by all means, just because we go off the air, don't assume that it's too late. It's not too late. You can still call 888-291-8000. We'll still be here as long as we keep hearing calls come in, and even after that, you can go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com 24/7. Even in future days, even if it's not part of this drive, you can still go there, become part of the radio club, receive the benefits that we'll be offering for your generosity when you join the radio club. That web address again is CatholicAnswersRadio.com. You won't have to worry about how do I navigate to find the place to give. It'll be right there for you on that exact page, making it quick and easy and convenient. It's a secure web server, so you can donate securely online, CatholicAnswersRadio.com, or right now, give us a call. Help us meet that $30,000 challenge today. It's 888-291-8000. Once again, 888-291-8000. Remember, it's more blessed to give than to receive. Please share all good things with those who teach you, and God loves a cheerful giver.
888-291-8000 is that number. Again, the phones will remain open. So if you're just pulling into the driveway now, or you will a short time from now, please give that call. 888-291-8000, and someone will be there to take that call, to pick up that call. Thanks to everyone who has supported us throughout this drive. Thanks to those donors who made these daily matches possible, daily matches that we really didn't know about just 2 or 3 days ago.
Right. They came in on the fly.
Right.
And that's an incredible testimony to people's generosity.
Yes, very, very generous. And thank you. And a special thanks to Michael for your contribution. And 888-291-8000 is that number. You thought I had a brain cramp, didn't you, Nick? 888. That was a dramatic pause. 291-8000. CatholicAnswersRadio.com. We'll see you next time on Catholic Answers Live.
And
we are live again for the
Okay.
post show. Thanks very much.
Wow, that was fast. I
Well-
guess we kind of talked up to the end of the music, so we didn't have
just
much of
boom,
a gap.
just switch
for
right
the-
over. Or maybe they're getting better at it. They can switch us over. Is that it? Are you guys getting better in there?
They're getting better all the time.
Oh no, it's good.
It's
There's
from the Sgt. Pepper album.
Wait,
actually.
Kathleen, can you make the camera go in there and show you guys at all? Because that's one of the, I think that's one of the nice
I
things
think that's
that we
one of
can
the great things about Catholic Answers More. We get to show the people who are on the other side of the glass and
But
all the contributions that they make to the show.
I don't
we
see the
couldn't do
camera
it
moving
without
though.
them.
The camera's not moving.
A little
What's-
camera shyness maybe, but
there's an oh
there we go. There we go. So in there we have Nick Chamberlain and Nathan Poe in the middle with the bunny ear fingers, or Richard Nixon victory fingers, whatever those are, and Kathleen West.
Yep.
So
and if you could, I don't know if you could see it on the video, but way behind them in his office,
in his office is Darren
and he's on the
Delozier.
phone.
He's on the phone taking a donation from somebody who's being very generous right now. So that's just one example of how we've tried to make things as easy as possible for people to call in and be generous with us and not have to wait and have hold times, lengthy hold times on the phone. So we were delighted when we found out there was a way to do that with our phone system. And so just one of the things that we want to do to make it easy for you, the donor, to help us out and help keep this work going forward.
And do you think we're going to have to eat that
Umeboshi?
what was
Yeah.
it?
So if you saw our pre-show of Catholic Answers More, we're now in the post-show of Catholic Answers More, where we give you a little more Catholic answers.
More.
Yeah, we have a challenge. If we can raise $250 from the people who watch Catholic Answers More online, then Cy Kellett, Tim Staples, Chris Check, and I,
and Selena,
she hasn't agreed to that, will eat umeboshi, which is the sourest plum in the world. There are people. We have a picture of umeboshi. We may be able to put it up for people who are watching right now. It's a kind of plum from Japan. It's pickled. It's packed in salt. It has a reputation for being extremely salty and extremely sour. And there are various challenges on YouTube where people are challenging themselves to eat umeboshi and then describe the incredible, intense experience of it. And we will do that for you if we get $250 associated in donations with Catholic Answers More. And the way to do that is go online to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. There will be a field there that says additional information. All you have to do when you make your donation is put the word MORE, M-O-R-E, in that additional information field, and we'll know that you want to associate your donation with Catholic Answers More, and you want to see Cy Kellett, Tim Staples, Chris Check, and me, Jimmy Aiken, eat umeboshi on a future episode of Catholic Answers More and describe what we're going through as we eat the world's sourest fruit.
Will we go one at a time, do you think, or all at once?
I think all at once.
Really?
Yeah, that would be my guess.
Okay, 'cause maybe that's good because I may not be able to speak for a while. I'm not looking forward to eating the Kobayashi Maru, but
Ooh, there's a sci-fi reference.
Yeah, and okay, and it's the 4th, so
It's May the 4th,
be
so
with
it's
you.
Star Wars Day. Yeah,
and I
May-
just made a Star Trek reference.
You made a
however.
Star Trek. They are different.
Yeah.
But you knew that.
Right.
So in our pre-show,
yeah,
I shared with you. I surprised you. You didn't know about this, but I went to
Is there another
Nick Chamberlain
Please.
earlier, and we set this up. I had a bit of music
Yeah.
from an awesome project that just got released in the last few days, just in time for May the 4th, called Princess Leia's Stolen Death Star Plans. And there's a band called Palette Swap Ninjas that does parody music, and they did a parody of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the album by the Beatles. They redid the entire album so that it now tells the story of Star Wars: A New Hope. And if you Google Princess Leia's Stolen Death Star Plans.
Princess Leia's
Stolen Death Star Plans. Yeah, you'll easily find this, and you can not only download the MP3s for free and listen to them, they also have videos on YouTube where they've recut Star Wars Episode 4 to fit the music. And so it kind of takes Star Wars Episode 4, turns it into a comedic rock opera of Star Wars.
I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome. I won't go into that more, but this is not the only Star Wars parody. There have been a lot of Star Wars parodies, including on YouTube. One of my favorites is a piece called the John Williams Star Wars Tribute. Something like that. What it is it was originally done by a group of guys called Moose Butter. They're an a cappella comedy band.
Of course.
And
Moose Butter.
Yeah, and they did a song that was a tribute to John Williams, who's the composer that wrote all of the music for the Star Wars series, as well as a bunch of other things like Superman and Indiana Jones and Jaws and Jurassic Park. And they took his most famous themes and put Star Wars lyrics to them. And it's absolutely awesome. Another guy later did a split-screen video of himself lip-syncing to that. And then Moose Butter did their own, but frankly, the other guys is more restrained and therefore funnier. But look up the John Williams Star Wars tribute on YouTube. It's awesome. It's really funny. My favorite part is Jurassic Darth, where they have a segment of the song. They take the theme from Jurassic Park and they merge it with Darth Vader-based lyrics. And they do it a cappella, so there's no music to play. But if you think the audience would like to hear it, I'll take a swing at it.
Oh, I'm fairly certain that's why they're here, Jimmy.
Okay. So I've been talking for 2 hours, so my voice may be off. But here's how it goes. And I love the juxtaposition between this kind of soaring Jurassic Park theme and the Darth Vader lyrics and how sinister they are. So it's like, Luke, I'm your father, it's useless to resist. Come with me, my son, we will rule. Search your feelings, it is true. So you have a twin sister, who Obi-Wan was wise to hide. If you will not turn, then perhaps she will give in to your hate. You are mine.
I'm speechless.
Getting applause on the other side of the glass. Awesome.
And I got to ask you a Pavarotti question.
Okay.
He famously stayed very heavy because his voice was, I think, the most beautiful instrument I've ever heard. But he stayed heavy because of he felt it gave a greater power to his voice.
That's what he said.
Well, also because he liked the pasta. But now that you are down 100 and more, how many pounds is it now?
100. Oh, let's see. So I recently saw 206 on the scale. So that means I've lost at least 112 pounds.
And so the quality of your voice?
I haven't noticed it changing. I mean, maybe, but I haven't really noticed it. I use it a lot because as a square dance caller and a caller of other dances, I sing a bunch as part of performance. So I hear myself singing a lot, but I haven't noticed a change in that regard. Normally, for me, the bigger problem is allergies.
Ah, okay. Well, you have a good range. That's
Thank
pretty
you.
good. I have a very limited range. Although I have to say I'm a beautiful singer.
Yeah,
I mean, I have
of course.
A beautiful voice,
and you're a beautiful person.
But
especially with those glasses.
But it's within a range
How
of about
does it
3
feel
notes.
to be one of the beautiful people? There you go.
It feels really good, Jimmy.
Good.
It feels really, really good. Wow, that was quite a 3 days we just had.
Yeah, it really
I don't
was.
even know what to say about that.
And it's not over. People can still call. We still have people standing by. I can still see Darren, for example, still taking a pledge from someone. The number to call is 888-291-8000, or if you're watching this delayed, you can still go to CatholicAnswersRadio.com. We still have people standing by to help you out. We still appreciate your generosity, and there's still time, even though we're not on the air, so we can't talk about it on the terrestrial radio stations anymore. There's still time to help us meet that very generous $30,000 matching challenge today.
And I think we're going to have to eat that fruit, that Kurosawa fruit.
You just like throwing in random Japanese words and phrases.
Yes, that, what is it, Gaiju? Gaijo?
Kaiju?
Oh, kaiju. That's what I meant. Yeah, kaiju.
Okay,
Yeah. We're going to eat the kaiju fruit.
The kaiju fruit, yeah.
But that would be awesome if we all turned
radioactive
into
fruit.
kaiju if we eat the fruit. And
so people who may not be familiar with that word, kaiju, it is, in Japanese it means strange creature, but it's used to refer to giant monsters like Godzilla and Gamera and Rodan and Mothra and so forth. So there's all those Japanese, what we call Japanese monster movies in Japan are called kaiju eiga. Or strange creature movies.
Yeah, and now they made a Godzilla a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. They're making another one.
They made a King Kong.
Right. Yeah.
And then they're
Godzilla versus King Kong.
And then they're going to do Godzilla versus King Kong, and I think that's going to have what's the three-headed guy? Not Rodan.
Ghidra.
Ghidra.
King Ghidra.
Yeah, King Ghidra. Yeah.
Golden three-headed dragon.
Yeah, and I don't know about the word king. I don't know why they threw that in there.
To make him sound more impressive.
Really? Because is he King Kong or is he just Kong?
Well, they're the same thing. I mean, King Kong has the word king there to make him sound more impressive.
Yeah. He's impressive. I saw I took my nephew to see the Kong movie recently.
How was that? I haven't seen that.
It was really good, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a really good monster movie. And I'm not a huge fan of monster movies like that. The Jurassic Park.
Right.
Later, I think it was Jurassic Park 2, it turned into a kind of monster movie, and they were running through the streets of San Diego and all that. I wasn't into that.
I like seeing
much.
the San Diego stuff.
Yeah, especially seeing stuff get destroyed in
yeah.
San
Hey,
Diego.
I know that place.
Yeah, right, I was just there. But I liked this King Kong movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen? So they've made lots of King Kong movies over the years.
Yeah.
Including some knockoffs like Mighty Joe Young. And
I never saw Mighty Joe Young.
Mighty Joe Young is awesome.
Is it really?
It's a really good movie. It's very touching.
Is that one of Charlize Theron's first movies? Or is she
No. This is like back in the 30s or 40s. So Mighty Joe Young. Oh, there was a remake later, but the original, which is the good one, is from way back, and it's really neat, and it has a happy ending. Another movie that is in the series that not a lot of people have seen is Son of Kong. And it's really neat. So they made King Kong back in 1930 whatever, and it was really popular. And they did one of the first movie sequels because originally they didn't make sequels to movies.
Oh.
And so King Kong was so popular they made a sequel immediately the same year called Son of Kong, because they couldn't do Kong again because he dies at the end of the first. Spoiler warning,
Spoiler alert.
After almost 100 years.
100-year-old movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the ending to it.
But in Son of Kong, they do something that's really clever where they pick up just shortly after the end of King Kong. So King Kong has gone on a rampage in New York City. All this stuff's gotten broken and people have died, and the stage show they put him in has fallen apart. And so you have the promoter who put on the stage show doing exactly what would happen if that happened in real life in New York, ducking process servers. There are people who are trying to sue him right and left, and he's trying to avoid the process servers. And it gets so intense that he and the ship captain from the first movie split on the ship captain's boat and end up going back to Skull Island and finding the son of Kong, who is much smaller and cuter and also very sweet. And it's a neat movie.
Little cinema verite.
Yeah, it has a little bit of, it has some, this is a 30s movie, so it's got some content that's not suitable for modern sensibilities that I was kind of surprised by. But it still has a lot of neat things in it.
Let's sing out. We can sing Princess Leia's.
Okay.
Wait, stolen. Okay.
Can we put the music back on again?
I thought we would just do it a cappella.
Oh, well,
really? Because they got to go home.
It takes a minute.
All right.
So, because I know the most of it.
And Kathleen, you just fade us out whenever you want. Princess Leia's
stolen Death Star plans.
Star plans.
The file from earlier.
The file from earlier.
Okay, here we go. It was many years ago today.
I don't know the words.
In a galaxy so far away.
Far away.
It's time for Civil War. They don't want the Empire anymore.
I'm just a hype man for you right now. See,
Princess Leia's
stolen Death Star plan. I'm off. I know I couldn't find the key there, so
well.
I got it.
And we got the Star Wars interlude, and then we're going to come back with the lyrics. Here we go.
I think Kathleen's fading us out now.
They're Princess Leia's stolen Death Star plans. She's got them and it's time to go. Princess Leia's stolen Death Star plans.
Is this going to be on the internet?
The Empire doesn't even know it is now.
That's forever, isn't it?
Princess Leia stolen, Princess Leia stolen, Princess Leia stolen Death Star plans. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.